Have you found yourself kind of living the same day, day after day, month after month, year after year, and finding yourself in desperate need of some sort of reset, refresh, or complete reinvention of yourself, but have failed up to this point to execute on such a reinvention? The truth is, reinventing yourself and changing your life involves a lot more than just setting goals. It involves completely changing the person that you identify with. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you exactly how to change who you identify with so that you can completely reinvent your life. The problem that most people run into when they want to make big changes in their life is that they look towards the goals. They decide they're going to set these new goals, or they just say that they're going to just work harder. And while doing both those things is great and yes, necessary for making change, it is not the real secret behind reinvention. The secret behind reinventing yourself and changing your life is to change who you identify with. So for example, if you do not identify as someone who is athletic or someone who is fit, you're gonna have a really hard time sticking to the goal of wanting to eat healthier or wanting to exercise on a regular basis because it is not in line with who you identify as. Likewise, if you don't identify as a morning person, having a goal of waking up early every single day is going to be an upward battle every single morning because, again, you do not identify as someone who gets up early in the morning. When you shift your self-concept, your identity, that is how you make change because then your actions start to line up with that new identity. When you believe something about yourself, your brain will work to make sure that your reality lines up with that belief. So if you believe that you are a healthy person who takes care of their body, if you truly believe that, your brain is going to do everything that it can to make sure that that is your reality and you do actions that are in line with that belief. So we are going to go through a step-by-step process on how to shift your identity. And step one begins with defining your future self. Who is the future you that you want to see? When you think about your future self, I want you to think about what kind of habits would you have? What kind of internal thoughts would you have? What kind of actions would you take on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis? I think physically writing down and journaling about your future self is a very, very powerful process to really get crystal clear on what this future version of you looks like. What does your day-to-day look like? How do you move through the world? How do you interact with other people? What kind of content do you consume? Where do you put your energy towards on a day-to-day basis? We want to get super clear on all of that so we know exactly where we were aiming for in this reinvention that we're pursuing. The more detailed you can get with this, the better. How does the future you take care of yourself? How do you do your hair, your makeup, your skincare? What kind of friends do you have? What kind of clothes do you wear? I want to know every little detail so that my brain has no question. This is the future self that we are driving towards. This is our aim. Step number two is to identify and let go of or release your old identities. A big reason that a lot of people struggle with reinvention is because they refuse to let go of their past or their current selves in the name of driving towards their future self. And I am definitely guilty of this. I have a very big problem where driving to something new in the future is very uncertain because there's a risk that what I have imagined in my head or what I'm hoping for is not going to pan out, right? Like nothing is guaranteed. But what I have right now, how I operate in the world right now, this version of myself, there's no uncertainty. Like, this is what I get. If I do the things that I'm doing day after day, I know the results that I'm going to get. There is no uncertainty there, and I am very happy with having no uncertainty. So to move from what I know is guaranteed to something that is not guaranteed, something that could go a way I don't want it to go, that's risky. That makes me nervous. And so I kind of cling to where I'm at now, this identity that I have now, even though there's this potential that future me and that future life would be so much better and so much more fulfilling. But just this risk and uncertainty keeps me kind of stuck where I'm at. So we need to deliberately work on releasing that hold on past or current versions of ourselves in favor of pursuing this new reinvention of ourselves. And really, you need to start with the beliefs that you have. What are some of the beliefs that you have right now that are holding you back from being your future highest self? For a lot of people, I feel like health and fitness is such an easy example. It's like, I'm not fit, I'm not athletic, I'm never going to be that way, right? And that is a belief that a lot of people hold on to, and that is why they struggle with yo-yo dying and jumping on and off the bandwagon when it comes to workout programs, because they're still holding on to this old belief that they're not healthy, they're not fit, they don't look athletic. If we can eventually release those beliefs and believe that, I might not be athletic now, but I am becoming athletic, then we're going to start to see progress toward that new, fitter, healthier version of yourself. Step 3 involves building your future self with micro habits. So I think when we talk generally about reinvention and changing who you are, it can be a bit overwhelming, right? To just completely upend your life and become this new, different person. That's very intimidating. And that's why I am a huge advocate of things called micro habits or atomic habits, as if any of you are familiar with James Clear and his very, very popular book, which I highly recommend you read. We can start to add in some micro habits that don't completely change your world. They're easy to adopt because they're small, but those small micro habits are small continual votes for the future you that you want to be. So if your goal is to be a very fit, athletic person, but right now you're 50 pounds overweight, you don't have a consistent workout routine, and you eat garbage, we could start with saying, I just want to drink, half a liter more of water per day. Like this, it's this small thing, but it's something you're going to commit to every single day. And again, it's just a small vote towards that newer, reinvented version of yourself. And it's proving to your brain that I'm consistently taking these actions and doing this habit. There must be something to this. I am becoming more healthy, right? You start to collect these wins and proof for your brain that this is how I operate now. If this future version of you that we've gotten crystal clear on, I want you to think about what are some micro habits that I can start implementing to get me a little bit closer to that future version of me. And if you need help with that, definitely utilize AI. Type into ChatGPT, this is my future version of me that I want to be. This is where I'm currently at. What are some small micro habits that I can start to implement to get me slowly but surely closer to my future reinvented self? Step 4 on this reinvention is to change your inner dialogue. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I often either internally or externally, sometimes I do talk to myself out loud, either internally or externally, talk to myself very poorly. I would never in a million years think about talking to someone else the way I talk to myself. I'm very, very critical of myself. I am very harsh on myself. And that's not great. That is not how we get progress and how we improve in our lives. So we need to kind of clean up that self-dialogue that we have with ourselves. So a lot of your inner dialogue, it's likely going to be subconscious, but it's going to be just little things throughout the day, like, "Oh, I knew I wasn't going to get that right," or "I knew I couldn't stick to a workout plan," or "I knew I couldn't resist that dessert," or like, "I knew I was going to make that mistake at work," like, "I'm not good enough," like, "I have imposter syndrome," like all the negative things, right? The thing with these is I find that a lot of them are running under the surface. Like for me, I've just talked to myself like that for so long that sometimes I do not realize that I talk so poorly to myself. So this one is going to require you to be very, very aware of how are you talking to yourself. I would recommend maybe having just some reminders throughout the day to just check in with yourself. How am I talking to myself? If you're feeling kind of down in the dumps or a bit defeated, kind of ask the question like, how have I been talking to myself, or what is my train of thought in this moment? Am I berating myself, or am I trying to pick myself up like I would a friend? And that awareness piece, just being aware of how you're talking to yourself, is the very first step to changing that dialogue that you have with yourself into something that's a lot more positive and a lot more encouraging. Step number 5 in this reinvention is to curate an environment. If we are going to change who we are, it's likely that you're going to need to change your environment as well. If you have chronically been eating poorly, there's a chance you're going to need to do something different about your kitchen or just how you're eating on a day-to-day basis, right? If you haven't been consistent with your workouts, we need to consider, is there something you can do at home? Is there something we can do to make getting to the gym easier? We need to change your environment to fit this new identity, because right now your current environment is supporting the current version of you. If we want to change, we need to change our environment. And this could refer to a few different things. So yes, it can refer to just like your physical space, but it could also refer to the people that you're spending time with, as well as the media that you're consuming. So that would be like the music, the podcasts, the social media, the books you're reading, all of that stuff is considered your environment. I think the media piece is probably the easiest one to change. Like, am I listening to podcasts that are supporting my future higher self? Am I reading books that are going to get me closer to that? Your environment, again, we went over that in terms of like what kind of food you have in your pantry, things like that. People in your life might be probably the hardest one to change, but it's about, seeking supportive community where you can that will support this new reinvented version of yourself. As I said in the beginning, setting goals is great. We need to have goals in our lives that we're striving towards, but I really think if you're wanting a reinvention of yourself and your life, you really need to change your identity, because the identity you have now is getting the results you have now. If you want different results, you're going to need to change that identity. So it's changing your beliefs, changing your environment, and taking those micro steps and putting votes towards that new, improved, reinvented person that you want to be. And as I'm saying this, I know it is easier said than done. And that's why, again, going back to those micro habits, those are so, so important, because in the moment and at the time, they are super small. They seem inconsequential, but you get that compound effect. You build up on those small wins every single day. And if you're consistent with it, in short order, you can 100% be a completely reinvented version of yourself. And even as I'm saying that, I get super excited. I am super inspired after doing this episode to go write down the future version of me that I want to see materialize, and then coming up with those micro habits that I can start implementing today to vote towards being my reinvented future self. I am so excited, and I hope you guys are too. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up And if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, and we will see you next week. Bye!